We're now finally live. Live, I tell you, live. We are. So, we start with some introduction music. Because it's not right if I don't have introduction music. We're live. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I am your host, Willie Bragg. And I'm just going to make it quick and sweet about why I started to schedule this video at 11 o'clock last night and doing it now at 10:30 in the morning. I was frankly exhausted from my protests at the Rage Against the War Machine. So that's basically the gist of it. Is I was just exhausted and I was just trying to get myself kind of situated and everything. So here I am. In fact, I got two streams I'm going to be doing today. I'm doing one right now on Jimmy Dore and Briahna Joy Gray. While I think they will be a great team for the year 2024 or 28, maybe 2032. And I will be interviewing a streamer by the name of the Yankee Tanky this afternoon. He was on the Dylan Burns. There's a streamer named Dylan Burns, and he debated him yesterday over the Rage Against the War Machine. And so we're going to be having that as a discussion today. So before we get started on everything, let me just say that just to hit that like button, because it helps with the algorithms. Hit the like button, subscribe to my channel here on YouTube, hit the notification bell, do the whole 9 yards. Also subscribe or follow me on Twitch, because I do videos on Twitch as well. And of course, I'm on Facebook and I'm on Twitter, so you can follow me there. And before this year's up, I will be on other platforms. I'm going to be expanding my platforms. So, be prepared in the following months. And I do mean that, by the way. So anyway, suffice to say, I was at Rage Against the War Machine in Washington, D.C. I went there, saw all the various speakers there that were at the event. Well, not all of them, but I saw many of the speakers. I walked around, kind of networked with some of the folks that were out there as well. That attended the protests. I met quite a few people out there too. I met that was glad to, I met Craig Pastor-Jardula. That was really awesome. So that was really neat. And thank you, Shane Coughlin, for introducing me to Pasta. So and I met some other folks out there. I met Scott Ritter. I met just various folks from across, the one of the editors, I think one of the leading people at antiwar.com. I can't think of his name at the moment. I'm trying to think. Good Lord. Anyway, a few other folks whose mind escapes me at the moment. But anyway, I I networked around and talked to some interesting folks, and hopefully there'll be some more material in the next few days where I'll be commenting more on Rage Against the War Machine. So I did, of course, get a chance to see Jimmy Dore live, and that was fabulous, awesome, great, and so we did that, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and oh, good gracious! I don't have my mouse with me. I'll have to go. I'll have to go and find the video this way. But I'll play you on my Facebook. Let's see. I'm going to play you the Facebook one. What I got on Facebook. So just give me a moment here. And where's my StreamYards? And we'll get started. All right. There we go. Let me get this here. And I'll be playing his speech when I find it. Is it this one? Is it this one? I believe it might be this one here. Let's see. Hold on a second.
Our cell phone conversations.
Yeah.
So much worse than the NSA? I don't think so.
This
you know, we
is it.
can end this war.
Here's Jimmy Dore. And I'll play it real quick. Here we go.
Look like somebody. They could attack us with Superman or something. Would Mickey Mouse's adorable ears eavesdropping on our cell phone conversations be so much worse than the NSA? I don't think so. Do you know we can end this war today through diplomacy, but our politicians want to enrich weapons manufacturers so they keep donating to them to the tune of $100 billion. Chris Hedges called America a mafia state. Systems of governance that are seized by a tiny cabal become mafia states. The military-industrial complex and the Ukraine war represent an orgy of looting and corruption. America is the most powerful mafia that has ever existed. And the hitmen in that mafia have military pilot licenses. The difference between our government these days and the mafia in the 1940s, well, the mafia in the 1940s helped defeat the Nazis. They used longshoremen and union leaders. It's a sad day when you can't even trust the mafia anymore. Do you know what America really needs? We need to take the money out of Ukraine and give it to everybody here so we can buy a balloon and a gun. That's the only way we can settle this. We all need to be floating around shooting each other down out of the sky. Better yet, the guns shoot vaccine syringes. Yeah, that's America. Eat boosters, you motherfuckers. America is so corrupt, even our Peace Prize winners are war criminals. Barack Obama won a Peace Prize and he immediately wrapped up the war in Afghanistan, started bombing Libya, put a hit on Osama bin Laden, dropped 26,000 bombs in Syria. And that's the thing about those Peace Prizes. Nobody ever tries to win a second one. I have a list of things we could have bought with that $100 billion instead of sending it to Ukraine for killing people. Instead of sending money to Ukraine, we could get President Biden a dog that knows where to lead him when a press conference is over. We sent enough money to Ukraine to buy everybody a tank of gas. For all the money we've given the Ukraine, do you know how many eggs we could buy? Almost a dozen. With $100 billion, you know, they can say you can end homelessness for $20 to $40 billion. We could have ended homelessness, then restart homelessness, then say we were only kidding, and then end it again. We can't end homelessness in America. We can't even fix the bridges that the homeless people live under. That's how corrupt we are. Every American for $100 billion could have had a home. But it's way more important that we make sure nobody in Ukraine has a home, because now it's going to be turned into a crater. We could give every homeless person in America $160,000. Or if we want to help Americans but still show our support for Ukraine, we could buy every homeless person in the United States 7,000 Ukraine flag fleece blankets. We could have used that $100 trillion. $100 billion would have provided universal health care to all the people in Algeria, Botswana, Morocco, Rwanda, the Philippines, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Romania, Croatia, Mexico, and Peru. Oh, wait. Those countries already have universal health care. My bad.
And you can see basically what he's been getting at with our military industrial complex and the needless wars that takes place and all of that. And the thing about it is, I mean, it wasn't just him that spoke at this event. There were a series of people that spoke from across the political spectrum. And oh boy, it was pretty diverse. And I got a little bit of pushback. Like, oh, you're going out there with a bunch of right-wingers, the libertarians, the paleo-conservatives, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I don't want a nuclear war. And if we have a nuclear war, not only would there be no more paleo-conservatives and libertarians, there'll be no more socialists or communists or Trotskyites or tankies or what have you. There'll be nobody, anybody to argue with politically. So, and some people think that that's me punching left. Now, when I punch left, anytime I do, I'm actually punching the right harder. Because a lot of the when the left fucks up with their shit, it's because they learned their shit from the right. We can see what the Democratic Party is all about right there. Bill and Hillary Clinton turned the Democratic Party into the Republican Party of the Reagan, like the moderate wing of the Republican Party during the Reagan era. And I am not being hyperbolic saying that. Is the case. So Rage Against War Machine. What were these right-wing subversives supposedly up to? I don't know. When I think about what they were for, and let me find that. Oh, good Lord, where did it go? 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 Right there. Okay, Rage Against War Machine. Not one more penny for war in the Ukraine. What is so unreasonable about that? Negotiation for peace. What is so unreasonable about that? Stop the war inflation. That's the military industrial complex, defense contractors. I remember growing up hearing about $600 toilet seats at the Pentagon. And when they audit the Pentagon a while back, there was like $7 trillion to be accounted for. And I'm sorry, the tens of trillions in debt we are in is not because we're giving some food stamps away. All right? Okay. Disband NATO. NATO outlived its usefulness, but they made NATO quote unquote relevant by breaking the promise to the Russian Federation after the Cold War was over. In 1991, the United States and NATO made a promise to the former Warsaw Pact nations and to Russia that the former Warsaw Pact nations were not to join NATO. And one by one, they all started joining NATO. And they were doing this before Putin came into power, when the country was in a much weaker state. Global nuclear de-escalation. That's not rocket science. There's no need for any country to have a nuke. Not a damn country in the world should have a nuke. Slash the military budget by 50% at the very least. Abolish the CIA and the military industrial deep state. Abolish the war and abolish empire. And to restore civil liberties. Not that our country was great on civil liberties prior to 9/11, but since 9/11, we have seen a lot of our liberties being slowly taken away, more and more by each president. Started with George W. Bush. It continued under Barack Obama. It continued under Donald Trump, and is continuing under Joe Biden. And if there is a Republican in the White House in 2025, January 2025, being sworn in, I can promise you it will probably likely keep up. Hey, if a Democrat's reelected in 2025, not saying it could be Joe Biden, you never know. He might step down still. If it's Kamala Harris or Pete Buttigieg or what have you, it's still going to continue until somebody says enough of this shit. And of course, let's remember, free Julian Assange. And let me add to this. Not only free Julian Assange, but free Julian Assange and arrest George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and arrest all the members of Congress and the Senate that voted for this Iraq war from both parties. Honestly, honestly, that's what needs to be done. But, that makes me right wing. I remember 20 years ago, that made me, in normal political circles, very radical. Oh, my goodness, what you're asking for. So anyway, I just think people just wants to be contrarian. So I see Hot Retarded Chicks is on the line here. So she's going to be happy when I'm about the show here. So Tulsi Gabbard spoke at the event. So I'm not going to be playing Tulsi Gabbard's speech. I'm going to call this what you're going to see here is what could have been. And this is back in my days when I was a strong Bernie Sanders supporter. Now, I wanted Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard to team up. I was obsessed in 2019 and 2020 with Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard working together. They had a political and ideological chemistry at that time that was compatible, and they were exactly what was needed at that time. But they both kind of taken some paths that I didn't agree with, and I get very angry with Bernie, but I don't quite wash my hands away from Bernie the way some others understandably can and would and do. But I am deeply disappointed with Bernie, and I do call him out. Same thing with Tulsi. Now, I got mad with Tulsi, but Tulsi still speaks sense on foreign policy. So that's what it's all about. So here's the thing. Here is the thing about it. The thing about this is that I want to make a correction here. It is Trotskyist if you like us, and Trotsky if you don't. And I apologize, Catherine. Catherine, I have a new phone. I lost my phone yesterday. If you could give me a phone call later on, I need to go and put your information on my in my new phone. That's okay. So let me get to what I'm talking about here. So this ticket, it was called what I like to call what could have been. And I'm going to get to what I'm going to get to at the moment. That's what I call what could have been. But instead of getting the ticket I wanted, which I thought was the perfect ticket from the time, I knew the ticket that we would end up getting, unfortunately. And we got Dumb and Dumber. We got Sleepy Joe, and we got Cop Mala. And unfortunately, I knew that I knew this was going to be the result. I knew somehow in the back of my mind, I knew Joe Biden was going to get the nomination. Somehow in the back of my mind, I knew that Kamala Harris was going to be second on the ticket. I just knew that was going to be the outcome as far as the nomination process is concerned. And unfortunately, I turned out to be correct. More neoliberalism, just more of it. And neoliberalism is why we ended up with Donald Trump in the first place. But what's so sad, was incredibly sad, is that people don't learn their lessons because you end up with more the same. More, well, he's no longer alive. More George Bush Sr., more George W. Bush, more Bill Clinton, more Hillary Clinton, more Barack Obama, more, it's ridiculous. And that's what we're ending up with. This is the normal. This is the normal people want to go back to. I don't want that normal. That normal is what caused us to have Donald Trump and the dystopia that came along with it. So, I mean, and doesn't mean that I like Trump saying that, but that's the normal. That was exactly the normal. That was exactly the normal that brought us this kind of abnormal right here. And we could get this abnormal back, unfortunately, if the Democrats just keep being stupid. Which I have all the faith in the world that the Democrats will be stupid. You know, they just know how to go and make it so where Republicans are going to, they could be easily discredited and put politically in the dust heap of history. And all of a sudden, they make a comeback. And not only do they make a comeback and they steal a tactic and they get extractions like they did with Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert getting extractions from Kevin McCarthy. And you know, something that the left should have done to Nancy Pelosi 2 years ago. And they still, AOC and company still, she's still glad that they didn't do force the vote. Damn idiot that she is. So anyway, let me get to this right here. And this is controversial, but after listening to Jimmy Dore and all of that, and you know, some people think, oh, I'm a Jimmy Dore simp, whatever. You know, I don't agree with Jimmy Dore on everything, but there's, I would say, a rough 90%. A rough 90% I would agree with Jimmy Dore on. And I'm certainly more on Jimmy Dore's side than I am the TYT, Sam Cedar, David Pakman crew out there. I would put myself into that category. You know, as far as the left is concerned, because you know, Jimmy Dore, whether you like him or not, or whether you agree with him on every issue or not, he is more or less the left as I remember him, the left to be. And so I think that I like the idea of Jimmy Dore maybe going ahead and running for. If we're going to be stuck with Biden, if we're going to be stuck with Trump or DeSantis, that's not a choice. That's not a choice. And Jimmy Dore is not right wing, folks. He's not right wing. So and I just don't get it where he is so right wing, because I mean, if like what Bosch said, if Jimmy Dore's grand old plan is to take disaffected Bernie Sanders supporters and the like, the Bernie bus people, and to sheep herd them into the Republican Party, I got news. It didn't work. I'm very critical of the Democrats. There's no way in hell that you'll see me voting Republican. I will not vote for the Republican Party of Marjorie Taylor Greene or Ron DeSantis or talking heads like Matt Walsh. I simply will not vote for such persons. The party of Rush Limbaugh. I know I go and take a big old shit on shitlibs a lot. And I even criticize some actual leftists occasionally. It doesn't mean that the right turn out to be right. I want the right to be discredited. I want the right to be discredited. So, and not just one right. There is the Republican right. I want them to be discredited. But I'm talking about the Bill and Hillary Clinton right, the Democratic Leadership Council right, the people that destroy the legacy of FDR and put a Reagan with a slightly more socially moderate persona on it. So I'm going to go and play a video here that mocks this argument about the right wing and all of that. and I will discuss Ukraine a little more in a moment. So here we go. Give me a second here.
That was Jimmy Dore endorsing Donald Trump as the anti-war option if he ends up running for re-election, I guess.
And now someone will clip this like they did last time to make it look like somehow I'm telling people to vote for DeSantis. And which I expect people to do. What I don't expect is for grown-ups to fall for it.
He avoided Trump stories like it was the plague during the Trump administration.
First thing we got right here. First of all, we have a failure to communicate. This is your party. This is exactly who you guys have been since Nixon. This is the 30 years of the Southern strategy.
Because now your main job is to fillet Republicans all day long. I hope you're having fun.
The Southern strategy, which was invented by Richard Nixon, which was just scaring white people about black people to get them to vote for Republicans.
But over the years, his content started to shift. He never criticized Republicans.
I don't criticize Democrats because I favor Republicans. I criticize Democrats because they favor Republicans.
But the reason why Jimmy Dore is deceiving his audience is because he wants them to vote Republican.
We have a failure to communicate.
He wants them to support Donald Trump if he runs in 2024.
And now you know why you have to stop voting for Republicans and Democrats.
That's lying to your audience on purpose for money like a whore.
All he did was focus on Democrats.
Like a whore.
Nothing has changed because of Trump.
But now he's going to help you out and just admit,
Like a whore.
yeah, I think that maybe you should consider supporting Republicans.
It's time to start voting third party, no matter what the third party is. You got to stop giving your vote to these two corrupt, murderous parties.
But the idea that you can sort of just quantify that Donald Trump was less pro-war than Joe Biden is just absurd.
Who pulled us out of Afghanistan? I'm just interested about that question. Which president? Which president?
President Joe Biden, when pulling out of Afghanistan, while committing billions in funds to troops in Ukraine, Israel, and Somalia. So we're in forever war. It's never stopping. This is a death economy.
His whole railing against the duopoly and not voting out of fear of the lesser of two evils was really just to get a way to get people to not vote for the best shot at getting left-wing proposals enacted.
What the fuck?
I just don't think, what's
What
the worldview?
the fuck? Are you fucking on drugs?
Wonders.
Earmuffs.
He's sitting there trying to help the Republican Party in every single way like a whore. Because he loves Trump so much and he thinks he's so anti-war. Like a whore.
You would think it would be 57 progressives voting against it. But that's what I mean about the flip. Now, instead of having 57 progressives vote against war, we have 57 right-wing conservatives vote against war.
I mean, if you think Jimmy Dore is a leftist at this point, you need to get your head checked. He wants to sheepdog people into the Republican Party.
Like a whore.
How you still don't think he's a con man? You just want a fake hero. I get it. Everybody wants a hero. I wanted Bernie. Bernie was my hero in 2015, 16. I know what that's like. But you got to face the music when you see who they really are. Bernie has proved over and over again he won't actually cross the establishment. So does Donald Trump.
And where was the lie in that? I mean, honestly, and when you have a Democratic Party that behaves like moderate Reagan Republicans, basically, Christine Todd Whitman types in the 1980s, well, that's slightly better than being Reagan itself. It's still too far right for me. Just like it was unacceptable for Tony Blair in the UK to govern like a more moderate, softer Margaret Thatcher. Both were equally unacceptable. So, and as I said, we need somebody who's going to fight for working people and raise the awareness. There is no reason on God's green earth. And I've seen, and I'm going to be 54 in a few weeks, and I've seen that this country move further and further into more war, not less, more corporatism, not less. And whenever they try to do something about healthcare, the first concern is how can we go and make sure that the profitability of the insurance companies and big pharma are kept intact. And heavens forbid if we even give something for free to people. Oh my, we can't do that. or to look like you're responsible, you want to go and attack Social Security and Medicare. And remember, Joe Biden called for that a long time ago. I don't trust Donald Trump on that crap either. But, no matter who, we had an anti-war movement during the Bush-Cheney years that died. And it was said Saturday, it was died when Barack Obama became president. And the Democratic Party is where good ideas die. It's the graveyard. They sheep herd you in there to keep those ideas down. And I know this even from a microcosm level, because, I could have started off radical from day one when I was in college, and there I was encouraged to join the college Democrats. And while I was in the college Democrats, I was encouraged to keep my mouth shut about these issues. And I was far less radical in some ways than I am today. Because to me, socialism back then meant a few more unions, single-payer health care, free college, adjacent to the present capitalist system. Yeah, we're there. That was what I used to think. And it's nice. It's a nice thought, but we're not even a public option or anything like that. Now, regarding this whole war situation, do I approve of Russia going into Ukraine? I'll be honest, no. I don't. But I understand the situation, and it doesn't mean that I want to start a war with China, with Russia or China. I think there's a lot of blame to go around, but the blame goes to NATO, and it goes to the military-industrial complex here in the United States, the defense contractors that keeps this war frenzy going. It goes to what the CIA, what lengths they will go through to make sure that to keep countries unstable. And whenever a country, especially if a country that's not in the West or a semi-West country, Western country, will try to do something good for the people, they're going to try to make sure it gets undermined. They would even try to do that here in the United States. They don't use the CIA. They just use the shitty politicians here, what they call the ratchet effect, where the blade goes right when Republicans are in power, but when the Democrats are in power, it's supposed to go backwards, but the ratchet prevents it, and there's a lot of dysfunctionality. And it's not because the ideas are horrible or shitty. It's because, there are powerful people going to make sure things don't work the way it should. It's called capitalism. And I'm not pro-Russia, folks, because Russia's capitalist. I mean, so Vladimir Putin is too far right for me. I wouldn't vote for Putin. But I would say this: Russia's less right wing than Ukraine. They didn't ban 13 political parties and ban 3 news networks. And as horrible as they are on LGBTQ rights, Ukraine's worse. And Ukraine's calling for the U.S. government to go and put certain journalists on a blacklist. And I got a little bit of a pushback from David Pakman last week. He got a little irritated with me calling him out on it. I don't particularly dislike David Pakman. I'm just a little disappointed. His show has gone downhill. So that's what it comes down to. I'm a pacifist. I'm anti-war. I don't like oligarchy in any form. So I think that Jimmy Dore will be a good voice for that. But let's talk about the vice presidential candidate that could. I'd like to talk about a running mate. And the running mate I would love to talk about, of course, the running mate I would love to talk about is Briahna Joy Gray. And I meant to have her photo up here, so I do apologize. Briahna Joy Gray. And I think almost everybody in this audience know who she is. But just in case there's somebody here who doesn't know who she is, that Briahna Joy Gray was she was the national secretary press secretary for Bernie Sanders in 2020. She was the national secretary for Bernie Sanders in 2020, and she was also she also worked in the Intercept magazine, worked in current affairs, and she's now on the show at the Hill, Rising on the Hill, and she was one of the most left wing people in the Sanders campaign in 2020, and she got a lot of pushback because while everybody else were trying to sound like just an edgier Democrat, she sounded politically like old school Bernie Sanders from the 1980s, 1990s, and she was wanting Bernie Sanders to fight to the very end. And honestly, I mean, she I've heard people say that she's a unhinged tanky or whatever. People have said these things about her. I'm like, I mean, where have I heard her say anything that matched that, or that she's also a right-wing grifter trying to grift people to the right? Where is she apparently right-wing? I don't see it. Well, let's go and talk about what I will call what I like to call better times, when Briahna Joy Gray was kind of, back in the days when Glenn Greenwald and Jimmy Dore and the like were kind of in the good graces of the online left, of the major players on the online left. So we're going to go with that. And so here we go. This is not that long ago with Briahna Joy Gray. At this point, she probably had a better relationship with Jimmy Dore, with Young Turks than Jimmy Dore did in 2020, and that was before everything went to hell with Jimmy Dore and the TYT. So here we go.
Yesterday, I was shocked to learn that some members of the Democratic establishment and even Kamala Harris supporters do not believe that Kamala Harris's mother, who tragically died from cancer, deserve to receive treatment and care free at the point of service. I was shocked to see that, because I would think that they would have enough empathy to understand the importance of providing free health care to someone who is suffering from something as devastating as cancer. So how did I find out about this? Well, it all started with a tweet from Kamala Harris herself. She tweeted the following, and I agree with her on this: testing for coronavirus and treatment needs to be free. Period. Now, that's a perfectly fine point to bring up. It absolutely should be free, especially considering how many Americans were uninsured prior to the pandemic, and how many more, millions and millions of Americans, will now be uninsured because they've been laid off as a result of the pandemic.
Now, with regard to Anna Kasparian talking about this, here's the thing. Do I doubt the sincerity of Anna Kasparian in regard of her desiring Medicare for all? No, I believe she wants Medicare for all. I do. And good for her that she wants it, as critical as I am. But she's not willing to do what it takes to try to fight for Medicare for all. There was an opportunity called Force the Vote, something that the right wing did for different reasons and different tactics for different purposes, and it worked with them. But we couldn't do it on the left because we wanted to go and make sure that Nancy Pelosi and the corporate Democrats are protected, and it's all kumbaya. Because I'm telling you, being a team player does not work.
So Briahna Joy Gray, who is the National Press Secretary for Bernie Sanders, quote tweeted her and said the following: "This is a good start, but is it okay to die from cancer or diabetes because you're poor?" So she's asking a very legitimate question about how every life is precious, every life matters, and we shouldn't just cherry pick when the treatment is free. We should make this available to all Americans regardless of their income. But members of the Democratic establishment apparently don't think that it's a good idea for someone suffering from cancer to get free service at the point of care. And I'll give you some examples. There was Brian Michael Scully. He's a screenwriter in Los Angeles who is supportive of Elizabeth Warren. He tweeted the following: what the legitimate F is wrong with you? That's what he had tweeted.
This is at Briahna Joy Gray.
Yes, this is at Briahna Joy Gray. I mean, there was an insane amount of hate directed toward her.
And you would do that later on, you and Shank Ugert and the rest of the TYT people. And here's the thing about that. Why, Anna? Why do you run cover for the Democratic Party when they're not going to do anything about universal health care? We know the Republican Party shit on that issue. We know they're a pile of diarrhea on that issue. But you won't acknowledge that the Democrats are actually almost as bad. Yeah, you might have a few Democrats that might whisper a little bit of lip service. I believe in Medicare for all. But that's all they do, as if they're ashamed of it. And then they go on and the insurance companies buys them all up, and Big Pharma does too. And somehow Republicans still run commercials. How the Democrats are trying to socialize our medical system when they're not.
So then you have Kim, who's a producer at Intertheory. She tweeted, please, I beg of you to reconsider your priorities. Destroying the Democratic Party ain't it, said with love.
I'm willing to destroy the Democratic Party if we can get a fucking Labor Party out of this, a Socialist Party out of this, a Social Democratic Party out of this, a viable Green Party out of this, because that's far superior to what the Democratic Party is. The Democratic Party in the United States is to the right of the British Conservative Party in the UK. Why, after all these years of voting for a Democrat loyally and even on a part-time basis, would I want to contribute to the ongoing conservatism of this country? Kind of ironic you got the little frown there when I'm saying this. Why would I want to contribute to more conservatism? Because insanity is repeating the same shit over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's the problem with a lot of progressives in the United States. A lot of progressives inside the Democratic Party is like, okay, we go and vote the Democrats this time. This time we're going to go and turn shit around. And somehow they don't.
What?
I think the priority is not having people die because they're poor. That seems like a pretty good priority. I thought we all shared that, actually.
I mean, it got so incredibly vicious. Zerlina Maxwell, who worked on Hillary Clinton's campaign and is now, a pundit on MSNBC, said, the tone of this tweet is mean and disrespectful, especially considering Kamala's mother died from cancer. I think it's mean and disrespectful to make an argument that, allowing people to get the treatment that they need to stay alive without worrying about the cost is out of the question and should be criticized. The things that they were throwing at her.
I think it's mean and disrespectful to keep voting for a political party that gave some kind of a healthcare plan that was modeled after the Heritage Foundation and disregarded whatever we still think of Bernie at this point. His Medicare for all single payer system is better than what was presented by the Heritage Foundation. And that's what we ended up getting. So, yeah, I think that's pretty bad too, Anna Kasparian. And I know you think that as well. However, we need to stop with this kind of crazy, that somehow the Democratic Party is way fundamentally better than the Republicans. They're only slightly better on a few safe social issues. That's about it.
If you want to look for yourselves, I just like a dark hole of negativity, threats about her job prospects after, the primaries. It was gross to say the least.
Yeah, part of it is that they disagree with her on this, and part of it is she's a representative for Bernie Sanders, and so she thinks, well, I'm not actually that offended, but if I can act like I am, if I can take her down, then that'll hurt Bernie Sanders too. Maybe I can get him to disavow her. Maybe I can get him to fire her. Wouldn't that be amazing? And the bringing up that Kamala's mother died of cancer, is that supposed to so now you're disqualified from bringing it up? Okay, well then by that theory, my dad died of cancer. I give Briahna credit now or ability to talk about it. Okay.
So I am surprised y'all haven't mentioned Kamala Harris's dad, Donald Harris. Donald Harris did not support Kamala Harris for president. He did not vote for Kamala Harris in the primaries. He did not vote for her for vice president. He did not vote for Joe Biden. Donald Harris is an economics professor at Stanford University. He was the economic advisor for former Prime Minister Michael Manley of Jamaica. Notice that y'all didn't mention that. And Donald Harris is a far better person than Kamala Harris, who turned out to be a cop, who turned out to be Hillary Clinton, who turned out to be another corporate Democrat. You try to raise your kids correctly. Yes, Donald Harris is a socialist, and he tried to raise her correctly, and she ended up turning into Republican light.
Okay, we've canceled out the 2 parent deaths due to cancer. I mean, I remember my dad, for the couple of years as he was suffering and dying from thyroid cancer, continually plagued with medical bills that he had to deal with. It would have been amazing if the last couple of years of his life had been freed from that additional source of stress that he desperately did not need. So we've now canceled that out. Briahna, go ahead and advocate for people who are struggling with paying for their medical bills again. The whole thing is absolutely absurd. I want no one to get coronavirus. I want no one to die from coronavirus. Coronavirus is a massive threat. But there's no moral reason, there's no ethical reason why you should make the testing and the treatment free and then be viciously opposed to the idea that someone who has, sarcoidosis should also get free testing or for treatment. Or no, we're not just going to help you if you get something that's trendy and impending. We want to protect you. We have the resources to protect you. We know from recent weeks, we have unlimited money to spend.
But we're in the United States, and that's why we can't have nice things, because of that mentality. So there is that. But that's one of the reasons why I really have been impressed with watching Bad Faith podcasts for a while. And I'm drunk off of Briahna Joy Gray. Again, I don't agree with everything she says. I don't agree with everything anybody says. But again, she's 90% there. She gets a lot of pushback by people to her right, calling her basically an enabler for the right wing. And, I'm like, how dare you do that? Somebody to the right of these motherfuckers. Somebody to the right calling somebody right wing. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, Turncoat Don did something quite funny. So I'm going to go and play this video to illustrate how the right-wing shenanigans of the right-wing shenanigans of Cenk Uygur, because she was on Cenk Uygur's program TYT, The Conversation, last year, and I think it was in July. And basically, he just basically beat her up verbally on why she's a right-winger and everything. And it was everything she could do to not lose her temper. And you can see it in her. I mean, she's usually cool, calm, and collected, but she was doing everything she could to not lose her temper. And here she is with Cenk on TYT's The Conversation. And this is a parody video. It is from that show, but it's a parody video. But it punches to the point, if you catch my drift. So here we go. Let's see. We're ready.
Well, I firmly believe in force the vote. And I support force the vote, as did Cornel West and Chris Hedges and Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske and a whole lot of people on the left, a lot of members of DSA. It's really important to force the vote on various issues, to expose folks who only performatively believe in various things. Because it seemed like a lot of the pushback against force the vote had to do with a mistaken belief that Kevin McCarthy could be Speaker of the House. I am articulating what I experienced, and I experienced a lot of animus, and I experienced it as animus when he referred to me as a fake leftist. I confess I'm not a long time TYT viewer. Just to be really clear, because I didn't insert myself into an argument that you and Jimmy were having.
You kept backing him over and over again.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I keep backing Force the Vote. I believe in Force the Vote. And I'm going to continue to back that kind of adversarial politics until the day I die. Whether Jimmy supports it, whether someone else supports it that you might not like. Well, Jane, for one, you should really talk to Jimmy. I am not a ventriloquist dummy for Jimmy Dore. I just cannot speak for other people, and I really wish you would respect me enough to engage with me as the human being that's sitting in front of you, and not asking me to speak for these random men who I'm not accountable for. I'm not their mom. I'm not in league with them or in allegiance with them. I don't see critiquing the few people that we have that are in positions of power to actually advocate for us as attacking them or trying to bring them down. I think I maybe don't watch as much Jimmy Dore as you might. What you just did to me, what you've done to all of them, which is to completely mischaracterize what I just said. You are seriously so oppositional. Every time I say something I believe, you interpret it as me saying you don't believe that. It's so weird. If I say my makeup brush is black, you're like, well, I also have a makeup brush.
Okay, now I don't endorse that sort of I don't endorse violence or whatever. That's just a comedy. That's all there is. That's all that is. I mean, it just signified. It was edited by Turncoat Don. He does a lot of the funny shit, political comedy, and he's a little over the top at times. I can't get enough of his videos, but it basically is symbolic on the beating, the mental beating, the intellectual beating that Shank suffered from, deservingly so too. And just I put Bernie and Tulsi in the beginning of the video when I believed in Bernie and Tulsi as strongly as I did several years ago, because the idea was that Bernie was going to go and take the high road and everything, and Tulsi was going to go and go after the press and go after the vice president, go after the people, like intellectually and politically tear them apart and all of that. So that was the idea in my view with Tulsi. Well, Jimmy won't care because Jimmy would do just that. Briahna Joy Gray will offer actual policy from an intellectual level that they will listen to her, and she'll be again an intellectual force to reckon with. So there is that, and so that's one of the reasons I believe strongly in a 2024 Jimmy Dore Briahna Joy Gray ticket. I want to see that as a successor to what I wanted in 2020, which was a Bernie Tulsi ticket, which I kind of don't believe in anymore. But this Jimmy Dore Briahna Joy Gray ticket would make up for everything. So right now I'm going to play a little bit from Katie Halper on the Force to Vote and Jimmy Dore and Briahna Joy Gray, how she's because he's gotten a lot of negative pushback and how everything was going on in the early years of 2020, early months of 2021. Damn January 6th insurrection kind of I felt like that unfortunately buried the issue for the time being. But anyway,
So can you tell people about the piece that you wrote, your latest piece, which has been getting so much buzz, as your want?
Yeah, sure. I think I'll start with the piece that I think is really left out of the conversation, which is this. We have an enormous gulf between what American citizens want from their elected officials with respect to Medicare for all and what those elected officials are willing to offer up. As everyone here on this panel knows, even a Fox News poll said that 72% of Americans support Medicare for all. Almost, 50% approximately goes up and down a little of Republican support Medicare for all. We are in the middle of a global pandemic in which over 14 million people have just lost their health insurance. And we have to start to ask the question, why is it with all of this pressure, which should very naturally lead politicians to want to start running on Medicare for all, they're not doing so? And I think the obvious answer is that there is a multi-million, billion-dollar industry geared toward making sure that we stay on a private healthcare system. So the media is obviously complicit in this. It could be that media figures held politicians accountable, that they drew the connection between how much money these individuals were taking from pharmaceutical and private insurance companies. Someone might have flagged the fact that Jim Clyburn takes more money from these industries than anybody else in Congress. And there might be a relationship between that and his support of Joe Biden and the rehabilitation of Joe Biden by the Democratic Party to knock Bernie Sanders out of the race in the 11th inning. But we know that hasn't happened and is unlikely to happen. So when Jamie Dore surfaced this idea,
I have got an actual plan to get us a vote on Medicare for all in the House of Representatives. What? All that is required to get a vote on Medicare for all in the House of Representatives is for 15 congressional progressives to use their power. Will they? Because America needs Medicare for all right now. Okay?
Are you sick of having issues with your webinars, wasting tons of time on...
I am so sorry about that. Okay, sorry about that.
We're in the middle of a pandemic. As people are losing their employment, they also lose their health care. This doesn't happen in any other first world industrial country on the planet. And just so you know, what is happening right now, the government denying you health care in the middle of a pandemic, this is not normal. No matter what they say, this is not acceptable or normal. Congress just gave trillions of dollars to the top billionaires, subsidizing Wall Street's frenzy of profiteering while millions of families are on the financial brink. Not only does America need Medicare for all, America wants Medicare for all. You think I'm kidding? There it is. The solution is one of the most popular policies in the nation. One of the most popular policies of the nation, which is supported by overwhelming majorities of Democratic Party voters and supported by the majority of Republican Party voters. Yet the Democratic Party majority and Speaker of the House has never put Medicare for all on the floor for a vote.
And he gets pushback for this sort of thing. And there's no reason to push back. It's the damn truth. Year after year, decade after decade, you have a handful of people say we're going to fight for national health insurance. It was called national health insurance at certain points. Then it became single payer. Now we're just calling it Medicare for all. Don't care what you call it. They promise and promise, and then you got other people that'll be like, well, we can't do that, but this is what we can do. And then they're like, well, that's a little too radical. Well, I'll tell you what, we can't do this, but this is what we can do. And then they'll point to everything else that will water it down even further and further and further. And all of a sudden, they're to the point where they're doing next to nothing in regard to healthcare. And then when somebody calls them out on this, little old me here in North Carolina talking about this issue, somebody calls them out on this, they're called right-wingers. They're called right-wingers because, you know, they're arguing for or pursuing a medical plan that the Tea Party hates themselves. A healthcare plan that's passionately opposed by people like the late Rush Limbaugh and the Sarah Palins of the world and the Marjorie Taylor Greens of today that they try to smear Briahna Joy Gray with. And then they're saying, well, people like Jimmy Dore and Briahna Joy Gray and Matt Taibbi and Glenn Greenwald and this person and that person, they're all a bunch of sheep herders for, you know, for the Republican Party. The biggest sheep herders for the Republican Party are the fucking corporate Democrats and some of the gatekeepers. Whether they know it or not, they're being useful idiots when they're not willing to do what it takes. They're not willing to go and to fucking put up a fight. Now it's easy for me to say fight because I'm over here in my little abode down here in North Carolina, urging our supposed allies in Congress, you know, your AOCs, to go and fight. But how much faith can we have in AOC when she votes in a way to bust a strike that would put a smile on the late Ronald Reagan's face? Remember, he busted the air traffic controllers in 1981, or put a smile in the late Margaret Thatcher's face, who privatized a bunch of industries and destroy and create a massive unemployment among mine workers. And she's done that. She moved way toward third way politics quicker than Tony Blair did. This is where we're at. And then somebody talks about a third party. You're called unrealistic. You're called crazy. You're just going to help the Republicans. Who's helping the Republicans or the Democrats right now? The Democrats help the Republicans more than anybody else. And somebody's saying, enough of this nonsense. I'm tired of this crap. Because it's all I got to face is Biden and Trump or Biden and DeSantis. That's not a choice. Either way, we're going further right. Either way. We're going to get more corporatism. We're going to get more Mitch McConnell policies. Whether Mitch McConnell's the majority leader or minority leader, he gets his way. I know some Republicans try to knock him down a peg or two because they didn't like his tone. His tone wasn't angry enough. You know, Mitch McConnell, he's just not angry enough for them. You know? So I'm just kind of like, you know, metaphorically, figuratively speaking, you know, Michael Moore in 2016 predicted that Trump was going to win, and that, you know, people will vote for Trump not because they like him, but because they've been had by both parties. And he's going to be a human Molotov cocktail. And that when they do, it'll be the loudest fuck you in the history of this country. And he says it's going to feel good for 3 seconds. I'm paraphrasing him. And then reality will settle in. I remember when he said that. Now, the other day, I briefly, you know, I was trying to talk to what's her name? Jill Stein, but she was busy. But you know, I wish it would be unnecessary for me to vote for a Jill Stein or Howie Hawkins or a Ralph Nader. But I make no regrets. I make no regrets for my past votes for third parties because voting for Democrats, for them to govern like middle of the road Republicans, just makes me feel dirty. It just makes me want to just give up completely. It puts me in a why bother area. Now, I don't want to continue the Trump crap, but I don't want to go back to the old normal either. I want to change things for a change. And that's what I'm getting at. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of long-winded, but I gave it some thought in the last day or two about this. Some people who want to see this video are going to hate my guts for it, but I wanted to go and talk to everybody on the chat line at the end, because I do, and clear things up where they need to be cleared, and chat where where the chatting needs to take place. So Miguel H, hey, how are you doing, my friend? Rage, yep. John Padmore, how are you? Not the best decision you ever made. Every decision I made has been the best, John. The real left, where are the workers at? Well, they're being oppressed by the capitalist system. Let's see here. I remember a few times when, yes, you do, John. You remember a few times when I've been raging. Balloon guns. How are you doing, hot retarded checks? It's Trotskyist if you like us, and Trotskyite if you don't. And I apologize for that, Catherine. Let's see. As long as you lay off the Russian talking points, Willie, you'll make sense. I promise you, I have no Russian talking points. Big silver orb. I promise you. And to prove this, I'm going to prove this, because a lot of people think I'm pro-Russia, and I'm not. I support Pussy Riot. That's not being pro-Russian. In fact, I'm probably Russian apologist, so I hate my guts for saying that. Let's see. Let's hear what you think about Ukraine. One of the most corrupt countries in Eastern Europe, and it's unfortunate what's going on all sides. Let's see here. In 1937, the world had 100 bandwidth issue, and that was Adolf Hitler. Today we have 100 bandwidth issue, and that is Putin. No, he's not even he's a horrible person. I would never vote for Putin, but he's not Hitler. Everybody throws the Hitler thing. I mean, somebody comes along, Bin Laden, Hitler, well, Bin Laden would be Hitler. I mean, actually, he's more capable of it when he was alive. Saddam Hussein was a bad man, but he was no Hitler. Gaddafi was no Hitler. I mean, people talk about this person being a Hitler, that person. People say that about people who hate Biden, say he's Hitler. And people who hate Trump said he's Hitler. And I don't like Biden. I don't like Trump. They're not Hitler either. I mean, I don't know. I just think that's just people too quick to throw around the H word. All resources must go to stop him. Then we can worry about universal health care. The only way this can be stopped if we stop the Bush-Cheney doctrine that we're on, no matter how it's tweaked. And that's the thing right there. People think we stopped the Bush-Cheney doctrine because it's been tweaked, but tweaking something is not the same as stopping. Let's see. Okay, you're blaming the victim. Sorry to hear that. I'm not blaming it. Everybody's a victim. The Ukraine people are victims. The Russian people are victims. The oligarchy is not. Please know, Willie, that claiming NATO forced Putin's hands place yourself in league with the pugilist neocons who claim Saddam Hussein forced the U.S. to invade with his yellow cake. Because a lot of the neocons I hear Lindsey Graham all the time, and his views on what to do in that region differs far from mine. Thank you, Shake and Bacon. I appreciate your kind words. Love these videos. Shank demolishes that was demolishing that interview. Yes, he was. Let's see here. So, for your narrative, criticize the U.S. establishment to provide cover for Putin. No, I'm not providing cover for Putin. As I said, I would never vote for Putin if I lived in Russia. Promote anti-U.S. candidates for office while pretending to dislike Trump. The man tried to implement the Insurrection Act in the summer of 2020. I don't like people who try to destroy civil liberties. People who, the little photo op with him holding the Bible. If you think I dislike Donald Trump, you're mistaken. No. Are you in St. Petersburg? No, I'm just outside of Raleigh. Let's see. Shepherds for Putin, not the GOP. Well, no, not anything like that either. If our Feel the Burn were to a YouTube video, I felt the burn like nobody else did years ago. I was the original Bernie bro. Corporatism is very bad. Fascism is much, much worse and a larger threat at the moment. Well, corporatism is basically fascism, is a stage of fascism. And I am emphatically anti-fascist. I see a lot of fascism here in this country. United States have capital punishment, and I think that's fascism. You got right-wingers and you got shitlibs that are cancel culture, using cancel culture to silence people on both sides. That's fascism. You got a beefed up military, and I'm talking about Russia, Ukraine, talking about even prior to that, militarism, obsession, that's a form of fascism. Not the average man or woman in a uniform. I'm talking about the defense contractors. I'm talking about the people from the State Department. Now it's the people who are just kind of like John Bolton, but maybe they'll have a rainbow flag, a rainbow sticker in the bumper of their car. The foreign policy is still the same. My man Moore. Michael Moore. I met Michael Moore once. Interesting situation. I was feeling having Bernie having written Bernie in the last 2 cycles. And I got very depressed during those 2 cycles. No hate here. Let's see. Hey, Willie. Hey, Warren. How are you doing? Impressed. Yeah, and no hard feelings, Big Silver Orb. I've said, people get the wrong idea about me. So, you seem to not know what exactly is going on over there. Maybe you yourself should go over there and fight the war yourself. I'm sure Ukraine needs the help. Yeah. There is a streamer named Dylan Burns, and he was debating with a streamer named Yankee Tanky last night, and he's actually going to come on the show here in less than 2 hours, and we're going to discuss that because the negative optics that some people have had about this war from various angles, because there are people that criticize me because there are libertarians and paleocons out there. And there were some people I saw that were kind of questionable out there, and I will admit, and I would never want to associate with in a million years. But I wasn't there for them. And I didn't associate with far righties. I don't have a problem with libertarians except on economics. I mean, I don't agree with the economics, but I generally don't have a problem, and depends on the paleoconservative. I mean, I'm not one of those folks that are going to write somebody off because they disagree with me on a political issue here and there. I know people that would. There are people like, oh, you had lunch with somebody because that person was a Trump supporter, or that person, that person votes Democrat, or what have you. I mean, I don't do that. Let's see. and people get mad at me when I call people out on it. So let's see here. They said I would do more harm than good. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with everybody. And listen, I got some stuff to do, and I'm going to grab me a quick lunch, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to the Yankee Tanky around 1:30. So y'all come back here at 1:30. Be my second stream of the day, and we're going to talk. Let me see. Oh, Warren says, then you should probably focus on our efforts on Putin rather than our own people. I just think that we need to all negotiate for this peace settlement. That's really what it comes down to. When I was at the rally, I was actually impressed by the level of kumbaya that existed, because I saw everything out there. I saw ideologies that I would normally not care for and everything. I saw everything from I agree. Thanks, Willie. No money for Nazis. I totally agree. And that's what it comes down to. And I don't believe in impeachment or what have you, and all of that. Let's see. So I just want to just say that I just want peace, and I just don't want a nuclear war, because if we have a nuclear war, even the disagreement here on a chat line will be irrelevant. And some people think that there's not going to be one, but we're talking about countries with nuclear weapons, not just Russia and Ukraine. China, Taiwan, same situation. And I don't want the United States and China to go and exchange nukes either. And I just think it's madness when you have the United States, Russia, and China rattle sabling and and everybody's pissed with each other. It's not a good situation, especially when nukes are involved. But I did find it refreshing that there were people from different ideologies, out there. And honestly, I saw them all out there. Trump supporters to tankies. I saw everything you could imagine out there. Libertarians to Leninists, January 6th insurrectionists to Jehovah's Witnesses. Honestly, yes. I saw everything you can imagine. Yeah, there were Russian flags out there. There were rainbow flags out there. That was quite a spectacle. So, I want people to get along, and I want to live to be 100 years old. And so I'm just trying to do what I can where I see fit. So anyway, let me just say that if y'all like what you heard, press like and comment any ways you disagree with what I have to say. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Feel free to share what I have here. Subscribe to my channel here on YouTube, on Twitch. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. And always reject corporate media. And seek a second opinion if you need to. Until next time, I'm Willie Bragg. I'm grabbing me some lunch, and I'm coming back soon. Take care.